All right, so for today's video, we are taking a look at a pair of Klein Linesman Pliers. Now, it's been, I think it's been about a year since I last took a look at a pair of Klein Pliers. These are the J213-9 NECR, so these do have the crimper on them. Now, they are not a part of the J2000 series or the D2000 series, which those pliers are meant. They have the hardened cutting knives on them, which they can cut through screws, staples, nails, and things like that. The 213 series from Klein is only rated to cut through copper wire, aluminum wire. The softer wires, you're not really going to be cutting hard wire with this. Now, these are a part of the Journeyman series, hence why they have the J to start off the model number for the tool rather than a D. The D is just a dipped handle. The J is their Journeyman style handle, which is the comfort grip handle. Now, these do feature a yellow and black handle, which I do kind of like on the plier. It's a little bit more eye-popping than the standard blue and black that are on the J2000 series. These kind of match the diagonal cutters that I have, which are nice, or the strippers. I have the needle nose and the strippers that I have. My diagonal cutters have, I think it's like a reddish or dark red, black handle, but these are definitely some comfortable handles. They do have the Klein name right there, and then you do have some warning on the inside that basically tells you to wear eye protection and that these handles are not insulated. They're not going to protect you from electric shock. I know some people say that they've used these handles on live power before and they felt nothing. There's some insulation rating. If that's what you want to think, go ahead and use these at your own risk with that mentality. But these are a fairly nice pair of pliers from Klein. Now we're going to get up to the business end of the tool. You do have the crimper, hence the CR on the end of the model number. So if you have to crimp on some terminals, you can use that guy right there instead of having to pull out a separate pair of crimpers. Now, I believe these are only meant for crimping the insulated terminals, so if you are using some non-insulated terminals, I believe you're going to have to get a pair of dedicated crimpers for that. And then you have the model number right here. And like most, if not all of Klein pliers, they are made in the USA, so you are going to have that plastered here on the front of the tool, which is nice. And then you do have some safety warnings right there. You have the Klein logo and the year that Klein was established, and then you have the Klein name. Now, one of the newer things that Klein has been doing with some of their more recent pliers is they have been laser etching an American flag on the face of the plier, which I think is a nice touch. And it's definitely something nice that Klein decided to do with their pliers. I'm not sure how long it's going to last. I'm not sure if this is the new standard from Klein, where all their pliers, or at least all of their Linesman pliers and diagonal cutters, are going to have this laser etched on the face of the plier, or if it's something they're doing for a limited time and then they might stop doing it. I'm not 100% sure on that. Now, if you open the pliers up, you do have a very nice and a very aggressive crosshatch there. So if you needed to twist a couple of conductors together, you are going to get a nice grip, or if you maybe needed to grip onto, maybe you're trying to pull out a staple, you're trying to pull out a nail or something, that cross hatching is going to give you a lot better grip on the whatever you're gripping on, and it's going to make it a lot easier to hopefully pull it out. Where it's just a standard pair of pliers, which you typically kind of see over in Europe, have the teeth on the head of the pliers where they're all running the same direction. They're all running parallel to each other, and you can get some slippage with that. Then we're going to come down to the cutting knives right there. Like I said, they are not hardened cutting knives, so they are only going to be able to cut through your softer metals, copper, aluminum, things like that. That's not to say that you can't cut screws, nails, and things like that with these. It's just the jaws are not going to hold up as long as the pair that are dedicated, the J2000s or the D2000s. Like I said, not to say you can't cut them. The knives are not going to hold up as well as the 2000 series. Now, the one thing to note about these is you can kind of see there is a small gap in the plier where it gets closer to the rivet. It does close up, but you can see that there is a small gap there. Now, if you do squeeze the handles, you can see that the gap is kind of closed, and then when you release the pressure, that gap opens back up. So there is that to note about the pliers. Now, one thing about Klein's is the majority of the time when you get a new pair, they aren't exactly broken in. As you see right here, I am holding it and I am moving them around, and they aren't really wanting to open up. They are a little bit stiff. You can use them single-handed, but over time, or if you want to put a lot of oil and time into loosening them up, they will eventually break themselves free and they will be super loose. You'll be able to pick it up and they'll just kind of fall like that. But generally, from my experience with Klein, is on the newer pairs of pliers, you definitely there is definitely a break-in process. It's not like some of the Knipex where you get them out of the box and they're already pretty much broken in. Klein's, you pretty much have to break in. That's, kind of how it is with them. But that's not to say that they're not a great tool. They are a fairly great tool to have. And pretty much most electricians use Klein, and most of the supply houses around here carry Klein on the shelves. So that's pretty much it for the detail on these guys. I guess we'll get to cutting some wire here. So now the one good thing about these is they're a 9-inch handle on them. So that is going to give you some leverage when you're cutting through multiple conductors. The single conductors, it's not really going to be a challenge. It's when you're cutting through maybe 2 or 3 conductors at the same time. So we'll go ahead and demonstrate that. So we'll pull out some 14-2. So this is 2 14-inch or 14 gauge solid wires with a ground in there. So you're cutting through 3 conductors or 3 wires at the same time, and these cut through that like butter. You don't really have to put too much effort into cutting that 14-2. So we'll go ahead and get that out of here, and we'll bring in some 12-2. And again, we'll go ahead and put that in the cutting knives, and it's a one-handed operation right here. It's simple and easy to do. So we'll go ahead and take that stuff out of the way. Now, the one cool thing that I like to use my Linesman pliers for is when I am re-hooking up a disconnect and I'm running a new whip from the disconnect to the new AC or the replacement AC or whatever it may be, if I'm just replacing a disconnect or whatever. I like to use my Linesman pliers to strip the conductors, whether it is the power coming into the disconnect or the power going out to the AC. It's generally depends on the size and tonnage of the AC. You can range from 10 gauge and 8 gauge wire is what you typically run into for a residential a residential furnace or residential AC hookup. So I do have some 10 gauge stranded wire, which is pretty much what you would use to hook up an AC. And these guys cut through that 10 gauge without any issue. And then, like I said, I do like to use them to strip the wire. If possible. It's going to be a little bit hard for me to do here on camera, but you can get that outer sheathing off the wire right there. And I'm sure someone's going to say I was doing it wrong, I spun it around too many times, but that's just how I do it, and that's how I feel comfortable doing it. Like I said, everybody's different when it comes to it, but this is just kind of how I do it when it comes to 10 gauge wire. So you can see it does cut through that 10 gauge without any issue, and you are able to strip the wire, again, without any issue. Now, I do find that with this specific pair of pliers, stripping wire is a little bit easier to do with some smaller gauge, so I just do have some 12 gauge wire right here, and we'll go ahead and get that outer sheathing out of the pliers right there, and we'll go ahead and pull that off, and I pulled the outer sheathing off there, and pulled the green sheeting off. So I do find it a little bit easier to strip some smaller gauge wire with these. Now the cut on them, with those jaws not quite meeting and kind of having to squeeze, it doesn't quite give you that snapping cut where it just kind of like cuts it and just shoots the wire out. So the wires do tend to get stuck in here, as you've seen. So overall, definitely a nice pair of pliers. If you're looking to get a pair of these for yourself, they're going to run you about $45, $50 for them, depending on where you pick them up. Now, most places do have them in stock online, but if you're shopping locally and you want the comfort grip handles, I'm not sure if Lowe's is going to have them or not. I haven't really been in my local Lowe's since Klein switched from Home Depot to Lowe's. But I know when I was shopping at my Home Depot a while ago, in the electrical tool section, and when they still had Klein, they didn't have the comfort grip version of the 213 series. They did have the dipped handle, but they didn't have the comfort grip handle. Now, if you have some electrical suppliers around you that you go to, City Electric is a big one here around me. And that's where I picked these guys up. They had them right there on the shelf, and I was able to walk out with them same day. Didn't really have to wait for them. But if you don't have an electrical supplier around you, or you don't have an account at a supply house or whatever, these are available to order online. So if you are looking for a pair of these, I will leave a couple links in the description below if you want to get some more information about them, or if you just want to purchase the pair for yourself, there will be some links down in the description below. But with that being said, that's all I have for this video. So thanks for watching.